Hello everyone and welcome back to the Noodle Network, the only channel on YouTube with 3 ways to play with your noodle. Today, guys, I have a very special video for you because it is the interview with Ian Gregory, the creative director over at Witching Hour Studios, who is responsible for the game Masquerada, Songs and Shadows. Now, I've only gotten to test out a little bit of it. When I was at PAX East, I was able to check out the demo that they had there, but the people over at Witching Hour Studios and Lena Lee Ray, who is their PR, managed to get me a copy of Masquerada Songs and Shadows. And I have been able to test it out a little bit. I've only gotten in about 15, 20 minutes of it so far. But that's mainly for the gameplay, which I wanted to share with you guys here. I will be doing, in the future, a live stream of this. I also tend to at least try to get around to a review. And I think I will, because so far from what I've played of this game, it's actually a lot of fun. But no more spoilers. Let's get to the review. And I will see you guys in a bit. Watch my magic snap. Hey guys, today we are doing an interview with creative director Ian Gregory of Witching Hour Studios. I just wanted to start off by, well, first of all, I wanted to congratulate you on getting the game through Kickstarter, though I know it wasn't originally funded through such, especially given that only a third ever managed to really fully deliver.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was a choice on our part to do the Kickstarter late in the game development cycle, so we could actually deliver what we were talking about.
Could you tell me a little bit about the game, just to get the viewers up to speed?
Right. So Masquerada is an isometric RPG. We've kind of toned down the RPG elements of it because what we wanted to do was introduce a world, and it's a world where masks are the only way you can have magic. And it's no one knows how to make them anymore, so it's becoming a very rare thing, and it creates a great divide between the rich and the poor. So that's on kind of like the story bit of it. But for gameplay, you play a party of 3 and you give instructions to any of them. And in the same veins as Baldur's Gate or Neverwinter Nights, you can pause and give instructions to your party.
All right.
Yeah.
So just wanted to just find a little bit more about the inspiration behind the game. What made you come up with it? Like, what was the real driving force behind it?
Well, if you talk about inspiration, I have to talk about a backpacking trip I did when I was much younger. So I was actually in Venice, and that played a very big role in influencing the look and style of how Masquerada turned out. Because in Masquerada, it's set in a fantasy world, but it's very much inspired by Renaissance era Venice. That's why the masks and whatnot. So I have vague memories of drunken sword fights along the canals of Venice. So that's where the initial idea came from. That was coupled with lots of Dungeons and Dragons. And what I wanted to, one of the frustrations I have with D&D, at least back then, was that the magic users would get ridiculously powerful after a certain level. So I thought, between my drunken stupor and my hopes to actually change how the game was played, what I did was I removed all the magic, the magic classes from the game, and I took all their magic and placed them on masks. So you could be a fighter with magic and things like that. So combat became actually rather interesting because it was this mix of spell and steel, and that's kind of the foundation of Masquerada at the mechanical level. And when the team kind of picked it up, it grew to something so much bigger than what I expected. Um, down to the way, how we thought about how magic existed, how the society interacted with themselves, and how they perceive things as unique upon itself. So it's the world itself is very much a greater than the sum of its parts.
Gotcha. Um, Something I actually wanted to bring up was something I personally found very interesting was that in I read in a conversation reported by Engadget that there is a a character who is gay in this, and I know Singapore has some very um, controversial opinions about homosexuals in general, and I just wanted to know what was did they have any involvement in it? Did they come to you guys and kind of question this issue?
Yeah, but that's the interesting bit. It's about how it was reported. But basically, there were some government people, but they did it more out of concern rather than trying to. Okay, so in Singapore is a very conservative nation, and more often than not, we are not a confrontational people, nor are we the sort to go seek problems. So when you're doing something a little bit odd, they mostly they checked in and they go like, "Are you sure you want to do this? These are some barriers you need to worry about." But past that, I think the Singapore government has been very supportive of the creative work that we do. Yeah, so yeah, I can't say that they were. In fact, speaking to some of the government stat boards, more often than not, they're like, go do what you need to do, and they're quite forward about how they're gonna, right. So yeah, so we wanted, or at least I wanted to make a game that could talk about things, right? But it was a conversation meant for a straight audience, to really showcase a character that had its own merits beyond his sexuality. Where we get very hung up about what people do in the bedroom, which I honestly don't understand or care about in that sense. So, what we did is that we created a character that had a rich backstory of who he is, why he is, and what he's about. His drive it's very human. So it's exploration of him as human who happens to be gay. And my hope is that the story that you go through, as a straight person, could help them kind of understand that journey. And also, so basically in the story, you play Cicero Guevara, who's straight, and he finds out about Kelvin's sexuality, and he's a little bit taken aback. I mean, Cicero's a decent human being, but society has taught him to see, you know, gay people as aberrant. So it takes him some time to process, to understand, to sympathize, and then to empathize with Kelvin as being a gay person in a world where it's ill looked upon. And it would be a common journey. I mean, imagine if someone close to you or someone that you've gotten to know well, turns out to be gay. How do you process that? So we take the player through that. Yeah, because I mean, it's all about human interaction. And one of the reasons why there's a lot of hate in the world is because, there's always this element of the other. And there are these far away evil things that you fear because you don't know or you don't understand. But if something is close enough and you normalize around it, it stops being scary. And I think that's the main goal of what we're trying to do.
Gotcha. Now, changing a little directions from the characters to more the magic, and I believe there are like swords and stuff available for weaponry. Can you tell us more about that?
Are you talking about game mechanics?
Yeah, yeah, like just what kind of like magic spells do they have available, and do you use can players use primarily weapons as opposed to just magic or anything like that?
Right. So yeah. So all most of the characters use weapons except for Vasco, who's a musician. So he actually fights with a flute. He conjures up. He's okay. So the thing about the magic in the world is that the magic is facilitated by the arts. That means to form and use the elements. What you need to do is have enough discipline. So think of it very much kind of like the Green Lantern, right? He requires some kind of concentration and focus, willpower to conjure up his powers and to
Yeah.
shape them into useful things. So it's not that dissimilar in the world of Masquerada. But to find that focus, to create that willpower, it is channeled through the arts. Because if you ever get into something, whether it be dancing, singing, or even when you're playing a game, you get in the zone after a while, right? So
Yeah.
it's that same, yeah. So it's that same concept, but in the world, it's done through the arts. So dance, music, music, instrumentation, singing, drawing. These are things that conjure up magic. And so Vasco, his character, he actually summons magic by playing an instrument. So he plays a flute, and he can use gusts of wind to attack or create, uh, you know, ghostly squirrels that run up and swarm the enemy and things like that. So it's a game where it's elemental, and more often than not, it's a mix of steel and spell. But more than anything else, because the game is elemental, we can actually play around with that. So we have these a mechanic called elemental tags. So what you do is that if you hit an enemy with a spell that creates one, they get a little like icon over their head for the element that they're tagged with. So if someone is tagged with fire and you fling water at him, he's going to burst into a cloud of steam and he's going to get stunned for a few seconds. If somebody is tagged with water and you hit him with an earth trigger, he's going to get rooted to the ground because he's going to be stuck in a pool of mud. So these are like little things that we add to create layers in the game. Not only that, the game is also tactical, it's directional. So getting behind an enemy shield actually is a tactic as well. Yeah, this and that.
Huh. Well, that sounds really interesting. I'm actually really intrigued by the character who battles basically with the flute. Moving on from that, I just wanted to ask you about more the enemies in the game. I noticed I watched one of the trailers beforehand a short while ago, and I noticed that there are a lot of human or at least human-sized enemies. When you play the game, are we gonna get to see any like larger scaled enemies?
Oh yeah. So the city itself is unique because magic creatures roam the streets. And so while you have human enemies, there are these things called the Fae, and no one knows where they come from, how they, appear. They don't seem to have any sort of reproduction, as in, you don't see, they're not natural creatures. And more often than not, they are made from materials from around the world, and no one quite understands them. So yeah, you do get to fight some really fantastic looking things, and these things can scale up. We've got crazy things. I think there's a particular tree fae that's about the size of a room, and when you're fighting it, if you could even fit a quarter of it on your screen, I'll be quite impressed.
Wow, that sounds awesome. I'm especially a fan of being able to battle enemies that are just scaled way beyond what an average human would look like.
We will not disappoint you then.
Ah, good thing. Now, what was the most challenging aspect in developing this game?
Honestly, making it happen. Singapore is not a country known for making games, even less so for games of the scale that we made it at. So I think one of the biggest hurdles was actually getting started. There's just so many hurdles to cross to make sure we could actually have the right people, the right funding, the right amount of time. But when you dive into production, you kind of lose yourself into it. So I think developing it, the process of it was relatively smooth, aside from a few hiccups here and there. But getting started, that's tough. And I think that's something that I think any game developer can appreciate.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with you on that. Um, so more about Masquerada and just how it seems very unique. But I'd just like to hear from you, like, what is the most unique and like just different thing about the game in general, any part of it, that makes it stand out from the crowd?
The world that we build is something that I think will stand the test of time. I speak of a world with magic, but you know, it tells a tale that is much wider than itself because in this world where magic exists, in this particular city, religion doesn't exist. There is no God. There is no afterlife. And for people, and for people to live that way, knowing that when they die, they turn to nothing, it is a lot to deal with. So society has found its own way to process that. So what they do is that upon death, a song is composed for you, your hopes, your dreams, everything that you are, everything that you hope to be is encased in a song so that anyone that would come after you could find out who you were in life. So it's a eulogy of sorts. But here's the kicker: as I said, masks are rare things, and only the very rich have them. Well, to qualify for a song, you need to have a mask, and that creates an even greater dissonance between the rich and the poor, because now the poor, have to deal with the fact that they will not even be remembered upon death.
Huh. Sounds very in depth. Especially, it sounds very integral to the story. Um, so, can you tell us a little bit about your job with the game? What was your key role in it?
Oh, I'm basically the slave master. Yeah, I'm the creative director, so that means the game stems very much from a core vision that I had, but it's my role to kind of work the team and make sure that while everyone gets an opportunity to add to the depth and vibrancy of the project, that everyone's still moving in the same direction. So more often than not, yeah, I'm a taskmaster, but I'm also the bad guy because I have to kind of say yes or no to the direction of where things are going.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, how long did it take to make Masquerada?
2 years. So yeah, it's about 2 years. A little bit more than 2 years. I mean, considering all the testing and preparation as well.
Oh, wow. And in addition to that question, actually, I forgot to ask was, what's the average run time on it for an ordinary player?
Between 12 and 15 hours, and it's a game that we made specifically so that a busy adult could play it. So they could actually finish it, because finishing games, honestly speaking, is becoming a a real issue. My backlog on Steam tells me so.
Uh, yeah, actually, I noticed. I took a quick look in the background of the company, and I noticed that a lot of your games, pretty much all of them, were iOS or iOS and Android, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's where we cut our teeth.
Yeah. Let's see. So, can you tell us just a little bit of how the battle system works? I heard it's like a pause and play kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's basically very much like it was. I mean, the gameplay was inspired by Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. So the whole idea is that what we wanted to do is give you options and give you an opportunity to pace the game however you like. So one way you can play it is to pause every couple of seconds and give new instructions. So it kind of turns nearly into a turn-based tactical game. On the other hand, one thing we did was that if you wanted to play it like Diablo, you could play it live as well. And the control schemes are very much like a MOBA, so it's about fewer skills and knowing when to use them. So yeah, so there's and everything in between. You can play it like a MOBA and pause when you want to create a combo. So you only pause then, or you can pause more often so that you have a greater nuance of what your characters are doing.
Gotcha. Now, one of the last few things I have on here actually is to actually probably the most integral part of the game is the story. Can you tell the viewers out there just a little bit about the story?
Right. So a few things to note is that the story is fully voiced, and we've got a great cast. We've got people like Matthew Mercer, Felicia Day, Jennifer Hale of FemShep fame is also part
Wow.
of the voice cast. We were very lucky. So one of the things we did was that we actually wrote the world and the story before we started really diving into the gameplay. So that meant that we could actually like send out a decent chunk of the script to the voice actors, and I think that's kind of like what hooked them. So instead of being motivated by a paycheck, they were motivated by a project that genuinely interested them.
Gotcha.
So with regards to the story, Cicero Guevara, the main character, voiced by Matthew Mercer, so he's an inspector, a detective, and he's very much the Sherlock Holmes of the world. But due to the actions of his brother, he was exiled 5 years before the start of the game proper. So when you start, you're actually arriving back in the city after having been exiled,
Huh.
and and he's called back to solve a missing person mystery, and that missing person mystery kind of unfolds into this great adventure of what is it about this world and why do all its parts work in that way.
Gotcha. That must be quite the interesting reunion then.
Oh yeah, it starts out, he comes back as a, I mean, so the one of the beauties of starting with characters that are already established is that we could give them history, and between him and his four other companions, we go through a story arc for all of them, and you kind of see them grow, you see them develop, you see them learn, you see them get hurt, and I think that's what is a very big part of the world. Another game developer actually kind of joked like, "Yeah, I don't think you made a game. I think you made an interactive storybook." I looked at him and go like, "You know what? I could live with that as well because it's a damn good story."
Well, that's important. That's very important to the game. And actually, it's one of my more focused points. I really like to be immersed in the story.
We will not disappoint.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Mhm.
um, so just last couple of questions here. Um, do you have any advice for players who may have never really played this style of game before? Like any advice for them to kind of get used to the gameplay a little easier?
I think use the pause button as much as possible if that's the case, because in a game like this, it can be overwhelming to see so many things going on the screen. So if you're playing it on PC, just hit spacebar so you can kind of observe and decide exactly what you want to do. So you pace it to your comfort and how much information you can deal with versus letting the game beat down on you, so to speak. And there's a difficulty slider if really need be, just to keep things going.
Gotcha. Um, just last thing here. I actually before this interview, I actually went on Steam just to like kind of look through the comments section and see what people were talking about and what people had to mention, both positive and negative about the game. And to my surprise, even the negative thumbs down comments were all very much, almost entirely made up positive things to say about this game. Um, but more to my surprise was that it sounds like this isn't going to be just on Steam and PC. It might be coming out for another system. Is that true?
Uh, yeah, that's true. So we have scheduled a PS4 launch coming up very soon, latter half of the year. And yeah, no, Steam's a very interesting beast. You're right. Even negative comments have a lot of positivity in them. I think anyone that has actually picked up the game has really enjoyed it. My only qualm is that I feel like we don't have enough people jumping on board to look at it. But I'm pretty certain we made a game of quality. That much I can go to sleep knowing.
Gotcha. Just one last thing. Sorry, I forgot to ask. Was now that the game has been out for Steam for a little bit, and obviously if you bring it to PS4, are there any future plans that the company has in general?
Yeah, so we have a habit of taking some time off after a major project to work on something small and silly. So we're working on something small and silly that I'm excited about, but I can't really talk about yet. It's
Ah.
kind of fuzzy. But ask me again in a couple of months and I will yap your ear off.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure myself and a lot of the viewers out there, I don't speak for them directly, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of us will be interested to see what's coming up next.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too, to be very honest.
Excellent. Well, that's all the questions I have for right now, and actually we're at the end of our time. So I just wanted to thank you, Ian, for coming out and speaking to myself and the people of the
Thanks for
Noodle
the
Network.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the chat. I do appreciate it as well.
All right. Well, I'm just going to close it off. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you everyone next time on the Noodle Network. So that's it for the interview, guys. I just wanted to thank again Ian Gregory of Witching Hour Studios and Lena Leray of Strider PR for the time and effort that they took to get in contact with the Noodle Network over Skype and get this interview done. I cannot express how grateful I am because I'm a new channel and there's not a lot of love going on out there, or not as much as you'd think, especially for new people. So thank you again, folks. But other than that, I will see all of you lovely folks next time. Hey guys, thank you for watching this episode of the Noodle Network. I hope that all the content has been really to your likings, everyone, and I really appreciate all the positivity going around and all the just encouragement that everybody's been sharing. You know, I can't thank you guys enough for that. But if you don't mind, if you could go down and click that like button, or if you could go down and click that subscribe button right there, I would very much appreciate it. And always remember, you never have to do that, but it's greatly appreciated. If you have anything you want to tell me about the show, if you see something you don't like, you see something you do like, see a game out there you want me to take a look at, please feel free to tell me so in the comments section below. Other than that, guys, thank you for joining us here on the Noodle Network. I hope you have a great day.